With the next iteration of the Jurassic World Evolution series on its way, I thought I'd share my wishlist for the top 10 features I'd like to see added, changed, or improved in the next game. Now, I doubt we'll get all of these things, or hell, even most of it, but in a perfect world, these 10 things are what I would most want the new game to have. So, without further ado, let's get into the list. Now, I highly doubt this is going to come to JWE3, but the one thing I most want from the new game is dinosaur breeding and baby dinosaurs. Now, yes, I know that it'd be a lot of work for the developers to add baby dinosaurs for every single species in the roster currently, which is why I don't think it's going to come, but let's just ignore that fact for a second and dream. It would make a lot of sense for them to add dinosaur breeding since it's such a big part of the movie series and would change up the gameplay quite a bit as you'd have to manage growing populations. If dinosaurs could breed, it would also make Site B type sandbox maps a lot better, as you could have populations that sustain themselves. It would just be really cool and it would add so much variety to the game. If they did add breeding, then it would also make sense for the individual dinosaurs to have sexes, and potentially to change sexes just like in the movie, depending on what genes you put in the dinosaur. Maybe even depending on what genes you use, you could get dinosaurs reproducing asexually, just like Blue did in Dominion. There's definitely potential to tie breeding mechanics to genetics in some way, which could be an interesting route to explore. So yeah, long story short, I'd love it if the dinosaurs could breed and we could have little baby dinosaurs running around, but I highly doubt this will happen. Now, if they did decide to add breeding and give the dinosaurs sexes, it would make sense to add sexual dimorphism. But even if they don't add breeding, I still think sexual dimorphism would be a cool thing to add to the game, and it would make the dinosaurs a bit more interesting. Now, admittedly, it would be a ton of work if they actually made the dinosaurs have differences in their models depending on their sex, so I wouldn't really argue for all of them to have changes. But I think it would be cool if hadrosaurs had differences in their crests depending on sex, so the males would have bigger and more colourful crests. Perhaps ceratopsians could also have more colourful displays on their frills as well. And they're just some ideas. I'm sure there's a lot they could do with it. I think the best way to implement sexual dimorphism without changing models, though, would have to be having different skins for each sex. Either have each of the skins have a male and female variant that is different enough to differentiate the sexes, or just allow us players to do this manually by having the option when synthesizing dinosaurs to select different skin options depending on the sex of the dinosaur. Sex should also have an effect on dinosaur behavior. Males should fight other members of the same species for the right to mate with females, for example. There's probably a lot that could be done with this mechanic, but as with the first point on my list, I highly doubt they'll actually add this to the game. Okay, so the Jurassic World Evolution series so far has definitely had a problem with the fighting between dinosaurs looking very forced and samey. It was improved a little in JWE2, but it's still not very good. It doesn't look very natural, and it's basically the same animations that repeat each time. I want the combat to be changed to look more dynamic and natural. Hunting could also be improved a bit as well, as the same animations are repeated there too, so it gets old watching the carnivores hunt smaller herbivores. One addition I really liked in JW2 was the Chaos Theory missions. There was one for each of the movies in the series, and they were sort of like these what ifs where things went right. They were a lot of fun, and it was cool to explore different settings from throughout the movie series. I'd love to see Chaos Theory return in the next installment and be expanded upon. I don't have many specific ideas for how exactly it could be improved, but I definitely think it should return. One thing I'd really love to see in JW3 is semi-aquatic species that are able to both walk around on land and swim in the water. A few of the dinosaurs currently in the roster, like Spinosaurus and Baryonyx, already make the species that would be semi-aquatic, But I think if they do add this mechanic, then more semi-aquatic species should be added as well to justify its inclusion more. Now, this would require there to be deeper water, so variable water depth would make sense to add in this context. And it would be really cool to have deeper water, even just for variety and habitat creation. It could also be cool if you could somehow connect water sources to lagoons in some way as well. Speaking of lagoons, it's really cool that JWE2 added them, along with marine reptiles you could breed to inhabit them. Whilst I'm very happy with the addition of lagoons, they're quite bland and uninteresting in their current form, and I think that's primarily due to the complete lack of customization options for lagoons. I think it'd be cool if you could customize the lagoons to make them more unique. I don't think they need to go too crazy with the options though. Just a few options would be great to start out with. For example, being able to change the color and murkiness of the water would be cool. Some underwater decorations would be cool too, like rocks and coral stuff like that. Being able to make kelp forests would be good too. Maybe that could even add some variety to the marine reptiles, with some of them liking more open space and others liking more kelp forests. Similar to how different land dinosaurs liked different amounts of open space or forest. JWE2 added a feathered variant of the T-Rex, which looks really cool and allows us to have more feathered species in our parks. It would be great if more feathered skins could be added for existing dinosaurs in the roster as well, though. There are plenty of species in the roster that really ought to have feathers, so adding a feathered skin for them would allow us to have more feathered dinosaurs in our parks. Also, since they'd be skins, they're of course optional, so we can still use the old skins that are more accurate to the canon of the films. Hell, maybe they could even make this a DLC. It certainly seems like a good fit for a DLC content. One thing I'd love to see return from the original Jurassic Park Operation Genesis game is the balloon tour. This was a pretty cool attraction where guests could get views of the dinosaurs from above, and I think it would make a cool addition to the JWE series. It'd be really cool to see a massive hot air balloon flying around your park, and it would be distinct enough from the attractions currently in the game to warrant its inclusion. This is a small thing, but I really wish we could preview the dinosaur skins in the hatchery. As it is in JWE2, you can preview the skins in the species viewer in the main menu, but you cannot access this mode when playing the actual game. It'd be a small quality of life improvement, but one I think most people would be happy with. I think this one speaks for itself. Just please, fix this frontier. Pretty please. So, there's my wish list of features I'd love to see in JWE3. Now, I think many of them are not likely to come, but even if JWE3 doesn't have any of these things, I'm sure I'm still going to love the game. The intention of this video was just to share some things I'd like to see, but I don't think any of them are necessary for the next game to be good. I do acknowledge that a few of them would be an insane amount of work for Frontier and are probably unreasonable to expect. Like baby dinosaurs, for example. There'd be so many models that have to do to get the babies for every species that's in the roster. And that's not even considering that they're probably going to want to add new species in this next game. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more Jurassic World content, then please consider subscribing. Okay, scrap everything on this list. There's only one thing that I actually want from JWE3, and that's the original Albertosaurus sounds from JPOG.